Chapter 17. Saria took deep breaths in between her words, trying to keep herself calm. But the truth was, she was terrified. She had a werewolf right beside her, still mostly looking like a woman, but it was clear she was slowly changing, and there was nothing Saria could do to stop it. More than once, Kiana had let out a whimper or turned her scared, hurting face to Saria, eager for help and comfort. All her companions were behind her on a cart, watching and waiting, keeping Ulfr safe and resting as well as they could until the inevitable came. The sun had been gone for a while, and it was slowly getting darker, only a small lamp lighting the entire barn. Kiana let out a sudden howl, shuddering even more intensely than before. A moment later, fur started to grow out of her skin, and her nails elongated, digging into the floor of the barn. Time was up. Saria still didn't move at first, fear gripping her, her hand resting on the back beneath it, muscles bulging and growing underneath. "Saria?" Andorn called, his voice breaking through the panic that had frozen her to the spot. She turned and got up, his hand already reaching for her. Within seconds, she was on the cart as well, wrapped in Andorn's arms as he steadied her and made room for her beside him. Another loud howl filled the barn, drawing Saria's attention back to the unfortunate woman. There was little left to identify that there had even been a human there, the clothes alone the only indication. But they stretched and tore, and soon a werewolf lay before them, howling and writhing in pain on the floor. The transformation seemed to take both forever and no time at all. Horrified, yet a little curious, Saria couldn't tear her eyes away. Eventually, the werewolf merely panted, the only one daring to even make a sound. Ulfr was nestled against Saria's leg, his hackles up and his teeth bared, but aware enough of the danger to remain quiet for now. As they all watched and waited, the werewolf rose, its back to them, but it sniffed the air, howled and came about, clearly having detected them. Then there was the ring of metal as Andorn and Jarlen drew their blades, neither being able to harm the creature properly without them being silvered. Thorgrim reached out to Jarlen as Mira went to stay Andorn. "It's still her in there," Mira said, their whole group watching the creature as it watched them. "We can't hurt her."
"We have to defend ourselves, however. Our blades won't do more than hurt her and piss her off a bit, but they might just save our lives," Jarlen said back.
"He's right," Thorgrim added, "but we should still be careful."
For a moment, it seemed as if the creature would do nothing to hurt them, but then it launched itself at the cart. As one, they all sprang back, bales of hay flying off behind them, and Thorgrim almost dropping the lamp he held aloft. It scrambled at the cart until Andorn and Jarlen both rapped its paws with their blades, clearly trying to deter rather than hurt the creature. It let out a howl and snarled again. Holding onto the edge of the cart, it tried to slash out at them with the other paw, claws extended, but again, Andorn managed to sweep the attack away, cutting the monster and making it howl again. Saria felt the first tears tip from the corners of her eyes. It was Kiana they were hurting. Would she be feeling this? Could this be hurting that poor, frightened young woman? But if she was in there, she wasn't in control. The werewolf yowling in rage and lunging again. This time Thorgrim ensured no one was hurt, blocking the sweep with his warhammer. The sound of nails catching the tough metal head screeched through the night. Taking 2 deep breaths, Saria tried to calm her emotions. They needed to stay alive and deter the werewolf, nothing else. But as the wolf lunged right for her again, Ulfr rushed to defend her, snarling and snapping. Ulfr's jaws closed around the creature's paw. It yowled and pulled back, dragging Ulfr over to the other side of the cart. Ulfr let go, but before he could get out of harm's way, the werewolf swiped with its good claw and tore open Ulfr's side. Saria screamed and rushed towards her companion, pulling him to her as Mira exhaled flames upwards and drew the monster's attention. Immediately, Thorgrim was at Saria's side, helping her pull Ulfr back from danger and placing a hand on the wolf's side. Ulfr whined and tried to move, but it was clearly hurt, blood pumping from the wound. As Thorgrim put a hand on the holy relic about his neck, a glow emanated from his hands and across the wound until the blood flow slowed and stopped. The skin knitting itself back together. Even the hair grew back in place until Ulfr was completely healed again. Gingerly, the wolf got to his feet. No doubt he would have the faint lingering of pain, a reminder that he had been wounded not long ago, but he wouldn't be prevented from fighting further. "Stay back," Saria commanded Ulfr as she got to her feet again. Thorgrim stood close by, and she gave him a nod, her thank you no longer loud enough to be heard as the werewolf lunged and howled once more. Again, they managed to keep it back, but it appeared to grow bored of trying to get at them from one side and darted to its left, closer to Andorn and the top end of the cart. As it did, the rope around its stomach went tight. It bellowed more in rage, finally noticing the restraint and trying to pull away from it. The cart groaned under the force but didn't give, and neither did the rope. Growling, the wolf began to claw at the rope, dropping down to bite at it also. "We've got to stop it getting through the rope," Andorn yelled, but Jarlan was already moving, clearly thinking the same thing. Jarlan took a running jump off the farthest end of the cart from it and shouted as he did. He then ran towards the other end of the barn. Immediately, the werewolf stopped and tried to run after him. Jarlan backed up against the wall, his eyes wide and his sword ready as the werewolf tried to rush him. But it stopped short, the rope going tight and the cart lurching as the collective weight of them all and the machine itself stopped it from reaching Jarlan. Saria felt herself shaking as the werewolf growled and snarled, swiping towards Jarlan, but it couldn't reach him at all. Only a moment later, it realized this as well and turned to continue attacking the rope. But Jarlan immediately darted forward and hit its back with the flat of his blade. The werewolf spun quicker than Jarlan had anticipated, lashing out. Mira gasped, but Jarlan ducked and then rolled himself back out of harm's way. Again, the werewolf flailed for him, but Jarlan was safe for now. The creature once again stepped back, growling, clearly even more angry than before. But this time, it pulled back a little farther before turning to the rope around its waist. Jarlan only waited a fraction of a second before he came forward again, but the werewolf was already expecting the attack and turned. Before Jarlan could finish his flat-bladed attack, the creature turned and swiped. With quick reflexes, Jarlan tried to dodge, but he wasn't fast enough, and the werewolf clawed at the sailor. Thankfully, his armor held, and only the material above it tore. Jarlan danced back again. "Going to need some help," he said, already panting. Immediately, Mira jumped down from the cart. The werewolf didn't rush at her at first, but it still drew the creature's attention from the rope and towards her. When it still didn't move or try to attack her, Mira exhaled fire towards it again. Although she'd done her best not to send fire near anything that would easily ignite, the fire reached the werewolf. Hurt briefly by the flame, the werewolf ran at her. Instead of fighting, Mira fled around the cart and away. Once more, the monster was held back by the rope, but the momentum it carried pulled the cart around a fraction, making Saria wobble. Thorgrim almost toppled right off the cart, but Andorn caught them both and steadied them. More hay bales fell, however, making the cart even lighter. Saria felt fear grow inside her, weighing her down and making it harder to breathe. They needed as many people on the cart as possible, or the werewolf was strong enough to move it. But they also needed to keep the creature angry and distracted so it wouldn't tear itself out of the ropes that bound it to the cart. And the night had only just begun. Unless an advantage presented itself soon, they were going to struggle. Mira didn't breathe any more fire. So much hay on the other side of the cart that it could easily have set something alight and burned the entire building down. Instead, she darted forward again, drawing the creature's attention without getting within reach. The beast snarled and rounded on the cart full of people again, clearly now very angry. Once more, they had to shuffle around to avoid being clawed. Yarlin taking the opportunity to join them in relative safety on the cart again.
Well, this is going to be a story to tell them at the end tomorrow night, and make no mistake,
Yarlin said as he helped Andorn deflect another attack. Only if we live to tell it, Mira called back, making the creature look at her again. It paused, growling and snarling, but not wasting its energy.
I don't like when it does that, Yarlin said.
It's clearly more intelligent than the average beast, Andorn answered. But I welcome the opportunity to think as well. We must find a way to subdue her until morning. We cannot fight like this all night.
You're telling me. One scratch from that thing and we'll eventually become one. I'm not ready to live in some basement like your little fireball friend.
Yarlin blocked again as the werewolf suddenly lunged. Mira slowly circled around the edge of the barn, intent on trying to get back to the cart, but the werewolf noticed her and lunged again, forcing her to the far end. Keeping in the middle of the barn, it studied Mira for a moment, the dragonborn sorceress holding her quarterstaff in her hands and facing it. While it stood there, Mira was cut off from her friends, and the creature appeared to know this. We need to do something, Saria thought, desperate for an idea to come into her head as the creature slowly and deliberately reached for the rope again, its eyes never leaving Mira. If it broke free while she was on the other side of the barn, Mira was in big trouble. Reaching for the stack of 3 silver arrows she carried, Saria notched one to her bow.
I promised the priest we wouldn't kill Kiana while she's stuck as this creature,
Thorgrim said, immediately reaching to lower her aim. I know, Saria replied, and I don't plan to do so, but I can't let it kill Mira either. As the werewolf locked a paw on the rope around its waist, Saria took a deep breath and shot. Her silver-headed arrow went straight through the creature's paw. It howled in pain, the arrow lodging part way through and sticking into the rope on the other side. Well, that's one way to make this harder on it, Andorn said. Anger must have clouded its judgment, because the beast came hurtling towards the cart again, trying to get at Saria. The force of the werewolf's run-up rocked the cart, toppling Thorgrim off the other side and sending Saria over on her backside. Only Andorn managed to keep his feet, his blade turning the claw strike meant for Saria just before it would have sliced the side of her face open. Yarlin was quick to haul up the dwarf again, and another moment later, Mira was back around the side, rushing to be helped back on as well. The werewolf tried to respond, but with one paw still pinned to the rope and off guard, it merely tangled itself up with the cart and wobbled them before it growled and tried to pull away. Bellowing in pain from the wound Saria had given it, the creature stopped for a moment. Wondering if they might get a respite, Saria tried to calm her breathing. Her body was pumped with adrenaline, and her mind was racing, but they had to keep going for as long as it took, and that meant taking advantage of any break the creature gave them. It studied them once more, its face in a canine snarl, and its sharp fangs clear to be seen. If it bit down, those powerful jaws and teeth could go straight through flesh and no doubt break bone. The thought made Saria shudder. That wasn't even the worst of it. To become a beast like this would be 1,000 times worse than injuries and broken bones, especially when you had a divine healer for a companion. As the creature watched them, it slowly moved again, almost prowling around them and testing its own strength and the give in the rope. More than once, it feinted a lunge towards them, and they reacted, trying to block something that never came. Despite there being 6 of them and 1 of it, Saria began to feel like the mouse caught by a cat, the one stuck in a trap, and not the other way around. Suddenly, it darted backwards and away, tearing its own paw off the arrow that held it to the rope and putting as much distance between them and the rope as possible. The cart wheels scraped across the floor, and they wobbled again. This time, they all kept their feet and held steady, but the cart didn't sit right, and Saria spotted frayed strands of rope. She gulped, wanting to draw Andorn's attention to it, but not knowing how to without letting the werewolf and the others know as well. She wasn't sure she wanted everyone to lose hope, or for the werewolf to realize its onslaught had been effective. The creature howled, clearly pained by its own actions, before going silent staring at them. Before their eyes, the wound began to heal, although it took longer than Thorgrim's prayers could achieve and seemed to pain the werewolf while it did so. Mira roared a jet of fire forward again, drawing its attention, but it only stalked slowly closer. At first, Saria relaxed a little, but then she saw the snarl turn into a sort of grin, as once more it threw itself backwards again. Yet again the cart screeched and rocked as more strands of rope snapped under the strain. They needed to distract it again, but Saria wasn't sure how, and the werewolf appeared to know it was close to victory. It didn't even bother trying to hide its intentions for a third time, as it came forward and then hurled its body back again. This time, the cart didn't move anywhere near as much, the rope giving a little, and one of the 4 ropes that had bound the creature snapping entirely. The werewolf bit at the remaining 2 a moment before trying again, while Saria tried to yell and call Kiana's name to distract it. Suddenly, a pot of something flew from Andorn's hands, hitting the werewolf in the back. It growled and went straight back to attacking the rope. Thorgrim was next to attempt something, coming to the edge of the cart and casting a quick spell. A floating warhammer appeared, glowing golden in the dimly lit barn. Thorgrim seemed to reach out with his mind and attack with it, but the creature dodged, snarling and using its good claw to try and bat it out of the air. When that didn't work but passed right through it, it ignored the spectral object and went back to its task. When Thorgrim hit it again, it yelped, clearly hurt by it, but it still tried to just move away and attack the rope. "What happened to not killing this thing?" Mira asked.
"I will uphold my oath if I can, but we cannot let her get out of this barn. Too many lives could be lost."
"I'm not sure we can keep it alive and keep it in here," Andorn said, surprisingly negative for him. But a frown was fixed on his face, and he gripped his sword tightly. "We must," Mira said. "She doesn't deserve death." "No, she doesn't," Saria said, reaching for Mira's shoulder. "And we'll do everything we can, but not always is that enough." "It has to be enough," Mira replied, stepping towards the edge of the cart again and gripping her quarterstaff. Reaching as far as she could, Mira prodded the werewolf with the other end of the staff. It looked at her, but didn't stop what it was doing. She poked it again, and again it glared. When she did it a third time, the creature grabbed the end faster than Mira could pull it back and yanked it out of Mira's hands. Saria and Yarlin grabbed the Dragonborn and stopped her from toppling out of the cart along with the weapon. After growling and flinging the quarterstaff into the back of the barn somewhere, the werewolf ran at them again, almost looking like she was smiling. Bracing against the attack, everyone tried to defend, but the werewolf didn't swipe, merely rocking the cart as if to fling them off it. Another hay bale went, but they managed to stay upright. In the commotion that followed, the beast ran as fast as it could in the other direction. The rest of the rope snapped with an almighty crack, and then the werewolf turned, free to roam the barn as it pleased. Feeling those cold, yellow eyes fix on her, Saria met its gaze and shuddered.